Cheers. Some love it, some hate it, and some are indifferent. But few foreigners in Japan fail to take note of the country's distinctive drinking culture. Is drinking in Japan really all that different from drinking anywhere else? Like many things, it depends who you ask. Last month, I found myself in a taxi, heading away from a well-known Tokyo nightlife district. After chatting with the driver for a few minutes, I learned that he had been working in the same area for almost 30 years. Out of curiosity, I asked him if he thought the city's nightlife and drinking culture had changed much during this time. Young people these days don't know how to drink anymore, he grumbled. In the old days, I'd have to open the taxi door several times a night for a drunken customer to vomit. These days, people are too reserved. It's no fun anymore. Regardless of what one may think about this comment, most drivers would probably be happier with a reduced need for such mid-trip stops, I suspect. It certainly strikes me as memorable. Could this driver's words be said to reflect a typically Japanese attitude, I wondered? Or were they just the personal opinions of an eccentric individual? Like so much else in the murky world of drinking, there seemed to be no clear answer. Through the drinking glass. Alcohol is a sensitive topic, and depending on who you talk to, you will get vastly different answers about all aspects of this matter. Culture, age, religious beliefs, gender, personal opinion, and experience, all of them intersect, often in extreme ways, when it comes to the subject of drink. Foreigners like to drink so much, and I can never keep up with them, said one Japanese man, echoing an opinion I have heard many times in this country. In contrast, among a number of foreigners, Japan has a reputation as a drinker's paradise, a land of heavy drinkers where almost anything goes, and where drunken antics are more likely to be greeted with smiles than with scowls. As is so often the case with cross-cultural issues, I frequently hear Japanese and non-Japanese saying the same thing about each other while insisting the opposite is true of themselves. Joining the party. Even though generalizations can be dangerous, it is always possible to note patterns. Over the years, I have repeatedly heard foreigners express great surprise at the ways in which alcohol use is accepted in Japan. Alcohol in vending machines and convenience stores, police patience with public drunkenness, and tolerance of people drinking openly in public are all commonly mentioned. These surprising realities are often greeted with delight, or at least amusement, rather than disapproval. Some years ago, I knew a young man from Finland who was overjoyed to learn that it was legal to drink alcohol on the subway in Japan. He insisted on doing so every time he got on a train, until his French girlfriend gently informed him that although it might be legal, it wasn't always polite. I thought the Japanese would drink more sake, meaning nihonshu, said a Canadian man. That was my image of Japanese drinking before I got here, but it seems like beer, wine, and whiskey are more popular, he noted. A number of foreigners are also surprised to learn about shochu, which seems to be much less familiar than nihonshu outside of Japan, for whatever reason. I don't really drink very much, confessed one woman from the United States, but I always feel much safer drinking in Japan for some reason. Maybe it's the low crime rate, or maybe it's the cultural acceptance of drinking, but I feel like I don't need to be constantly looking over my shoulder when I get tipsy. A Canadian man told me that he thought Japanese people were happier than Canadians when they drank. People don't seem to get as angry when they drink in Tokyo, he went on. I've never seen a bar fight here. While these are sweeping generalizations that do not always reflect reality, they are opinions I've heard multiple times from foreigners in Japan. None for me, thanks. Other foreigners are less upbeat about the drinking scene. Some feel that problem drinking and alcoholism are not properly acknowledged in Japan, and that the culture is too accepting of what they see as a potentially dangerous habit. I feel a pressure to drink in business situations, and I find it uncomfortable, confided one friend from Britain. Drinking is part of business around the world, of course, but it makes me feel nervous when I'm in a culture I don't completely understand. Another friend from the U.S. said, "There is too much drunkenness here. I don't mean among the Japanese. I'm talking about the foreign drinking scene in Japan." In his opinion, it is too easy for lonely foreigners far from home to fall into alcohol abuse. The Japanese are too accepting of drunken foreigners, and in some way often expect foreigners to be drunks, he went on. If you can't speak Japanese, drunken communication can be an all too easy substitute for real communication. Another woman from Europe expressed similar opinions, saying that the gaijin bar, or establishments with a reputation for catering, especially to those from overseas, were bad for foreigners. It is common for foreigners to get trapped into patterns of drinking and socializing only with other foreigners in a small, closed circle, she said. I try to push myself to socialize more with Japanese people and in non-drinking contexts. That way, I feel like I'm learning something new about this country, rather than closing myself off and repeating the same thing over and over. Last call. In my own opinion, people's feelings about alcohol transcend national boundaries and will always be ambiguous. If drinking seems more conspicuous in Japan to some, maybe it is because in other contexts emotions are kept more tightly under wraps. Stress and the need to relieve stress are part of the human condition, and yet different societies process and release stress in different ways. Be this as it may, the end of one year and the beginning of another is always a perfect time for both reflection and forgetting, for wrapping up the old and welcoming in the new. The Japanese customs of Bonenkai and Shinenkai have always struck me as pleasant and appropriate ways to do so, whether one's glass is full of alcohol or a soft drink. So in closing, please accept my own very best wishes for the year ahead. Cheers.